2025 has definitely been a very hopeful year for films, as we've seen many movies be successful at the box office and we've seen a fuller slate. And to start today's episode, let's go over the top 10 grossing movies of 2025 so far, and we're going to zero in on one in particular. The biggest movie of the year so far is Ne Zha 2, which is the film out of China, which has grossed worldwide a little over $2 billion. So James Cameron, Disney, and Avatar, you got your work cut out for you. Then Lilo and Stitch by Disney, a little over $1 billion so far. And then a Minecraft movie by Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers, they are having a hell of a year right now. They've had 4, 5, 6 movies that have grossed over $40 million each over their opening weekend. That's amazing to see. We're going to skip number 4 for a minute. Number 5 is How to Train Your Dragon by Universal, and that one is at $627 million worldwide. Superman is right now a little over $600 million. Formula One at number 7 is $603 million. And then with number 8, you have Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, Paramount at just under $600 million. Really feel for that movie and for that studio. And then Detective Chinatown 1900 by Wanda out of China for $508, almost $509 million. And The Fantastic Four, First Steps by Disney, $490, almost $491 million. Amazing movie. But I jumped over number 4. What movie is number 4? Number 4 is Jurassic World Rebirth, and that movie has grossed so far over $844 million worldwide. We need to talk about this movie. I watched this movie. I unfortunately missed it in the theaters. I was on a flight. Yes, I know, sacrilegious to see it on a small screen. I watched it on my iPad on the flight back. The movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes long. After 1 hour, I stopped and I was done. Please let me be very, very clear. I love the Jurassic Park, now Jurassic World franchise. The movie that was started by Steven Spielberg in the 1990s, the original and the second one, were two of my favorite movies. They were fun. They tapped into your imagination. The music by John Williams, the introduction to the world of special effects. I mean, really amazing special effects, especially back then in the 90s. And then as the subsequent sequels happened, like Jurassic Park 3 kind of flopped. Jurassic World reinvented the series. That one was definitely fun. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I know that there's a kind of split feeling on that one. I liked it because it kind of tapped into the director's horror roots for that movie. Jurassic World Dominion was just way too much of stuffing things together. And that brings us to the latest entry in this franchise, Jurassic World Rebirth. And before I jump into some of the cons, let me at least address the positives, because there are quite a few of the positives here. You have an awesome mix of the people who are involved in the making of this movie, in front of the camera and behind the camera. Let's first talk about in front of the camera. You have Ed Skrein, who played the villain in Deadpool. You have Manuel Garcia Rulfo, who plays Mickey Holler in the Netflix series The Lincoln Lawyer. You have Rupert Friend, who is known from the series Homeland, Mahershala Ali from Moonlight, and then Scarlett Johansson from Black Widow from the Marvel Universe. You have a great cast. You have producer Frank Marshall, who is just a pro and an all-around kick-ass producer. You have David Koepp, who has been the writer of almost all the Jurassic Park movies. We're going to come back to that. And Gareth Edwards, who is an amazing director in the sense that he is a wizard with visual effects. One really great thing with Gareth Edwards, the fact that he is so skilled, especially from a visual effects point of view, is that he's a person who can work quickly, he can work economically. He has built a great reputation within the industry. And if you look at some of the films he's worked on, so he was the director on Rogue One. And even though Rogue One did have some issues during production, it was story issues, especially towards the end of the movie. They brought in Tony Gilroy, and now, Tony Gilroy has taken a lot of ownership over the Star Wars area with the series Andor, which is a whole other amazing thing in and of itself, and we will come back to that series, I promise. A really great thing with Gareth Edwards is that when Disney brought in Gilroy, Edwards did not make a fuss, there was no tension, he was a team player, and they got through it. It was a critical success, it was an audience success, and it was a box office over $1 billion global box office success. And then that was followed up with another Disney movie called The Creator. Now, that movie, the box office being the most important, it was not a success, but you need to see that movie just because the visuals that they pulled off in that movie for the budget that they made that movie was really something. And whether we're talking about Rogue One, the creator, or this movie, Jurassic World Rebirth, Edwards now has this reputation of being a guy who can basically meet a budget, who can be decisive, who is creative, and who knows how to visually dazzle. So he has definitely become a favorite in the studio system. And again, I think all of that is wonderful, but Rogue One had what this movie, Rebirth, did not have, and that was a writer to come in and save the story of the movie. Now, this is not trying to be a snob saying like, oh, the story has to be this or that, and like, otherwise I won't watch it at all. No. Don't get me wrong. Sure, like, do I sometimes make fun of the remakes, prequels, the IP, all the intellectual property stuff? Sure, but I can go along with those too, and I enjoy those. You've heard me talk about comic book movies, sci-fi movies. I have no problem with any of that, but you have to make it engaging. Listener, I challenge you. Think of any comic book movie or think of any book that's been adapted or any series you've seen. Of course, you love the entertainment, but I think there's got to be something that grabs us and keeps us through the entire thing. What is that main story? Do we give a damn about the characters? Is the writing funny? Is it endearing? Is there something that we're learning or we're getting a thrill or a scare? Any of those are fine. There needs to be something. And in Jurassic World Rebirth, you could not care less for what was happening to any of these people. David Koepp, this guy is a master writer. I don't know what happened here. This felt like something that was just rushed, and that's always a recipe for disaster. And look, I get that Universal had their July release date that they wanted to meet and that they lost their original director, David Leitch. So this is the director who was the co-director of John Wick 1 and was the director of The Fall Guy. He's an action director, and apparently he left for reasons of creative differences. I wonder what those were. But you know what? I got to also step back for a minute. For all of this that I'm saying, for the things that maybe I didn't appreciate, I have to step back and see that this movie now is at a global box office of almost $850 million. And the budget is supposedly somewhere between 180 to 225 million. Let's assume it's even on that higher end, 225 million. As long as they made 675 million, which no easy feat, Mission Impossible will tell you that. Yeah, they met that. They've blown past that. So clearly something worked. And listener, I ask you, what do you think that is? And this is not me thinking I know what the answer is. I really don't. Maybe it's that weekend, there wasn't a lot of competition yet. Superman was not out yet. Fantastic Four was not out yet. There's definitely a strong fan base for this franchise. This is the 7th film in the series. Yeah, it's the 7th installment in the Jurassic Park franchise overall and the 4th in the Jurassic World franchise within that. So there's definitely a strong following. These movies have always done reasonably well, with exception of Jurassic Park 3. I'm wondering also if it was the foreign box office, because looking at all the major territories, they all did seem to flock towards this movie. And China in particular was about 8 to 9% of the global box office. So I'm sure that helped as well. The other thing too, right now, I think not just because it's summer, but people need a little bit of entertainment and an escape because, news. Still, and maybe this is where the snob kicks in, this movie, so frustrating for me because it is a franchise that I love so much. And those first 2 movies by Spielberg were so much fun. And again, I really should be acknowledging that Spielberg definitely plays a big hand in whatever movie he is making. And it does not matter. It almost, I should say, doesn't matter who the writer is because he will be putting his writing hat on too when he is making his movies. He is a master storyteller. But with this movie, we had something very different. This was not artist-driven. This was studio-driven. I should actually point out that Gareth Edwards had a year and a half to make this movie, whereas normally something of this scale takes 2.5 years. But he was able to pull it off because of this script that was ready to go. The studio was saying, we have the script and we love it. And this is the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park franchise. Go make it. And Edwards supposedly was saying that, okay, I have my roadmap and I love this franchise too, and I'm ready to go. And okay, it's one thing to have a solid reputation, to know that you are very skilled as a visual person, you can handle logistics really well, you are able to make decisions. But in this case, sometimes that decision means pulling a David Leitch and saying, this script is not ready, because that was the case here. Now, if people are going to just point at the scoreboard to me and say, hey, Saurabh, 850 million global box office. I hear you. I do. Clearly, from the financial point of view, I'm a minority opinion on this. But if you look at the reviews, and I'm not talking about just the critics, look at the audience reviews. They are brutal. And there is a reason. Now, believe it or not, the whole purpose of this is not to be negative. It is to ask questions. I am really curious on how this movie has reached these box office heights. Usually the health and the success of a movie is determined by its opening weekend and the staying power of the subsequent weeks. Now, Jurassic World Rebirth had a very successful opening weekend, and that is in no small part to the very strong marketing push that Universal had leading up to this movie. The part that I am completely perplexed by, though, is what in the world gave it staying power in weeks 2 and 3? Because by the end of the third week, it surpassed that $675 million box office amount that I was talking about before. Because if this movie, let's assume, had that highest range of budget of $225 million, that is what they needed to break even and start making a profit. And as we've seen, they have exploded past that. And listener, what do you think that reason is? Do you think it's because maybe people really did like the movie? Do you think it's because there wasn't anything else playing? Do you think it's because people want an escape? Do you think it's the international box office? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please do leave a comment below, because this is definitely a strange one in 2025. Jurassic World Rebirth can be found on all platforms where you can rent and buy your movies. It will eventually be streaming on the Universal streaming platform, which is Peacock. And while that date hasn't been announced yet, my guesstimate is that by late October, early November, that movie will be streaming on Peacock as well. So here would be the part where I would say, I hope you check it out. Let me know what you think. And I'm still going to say that, but I'm going to be honest with you that I didn't finish it myself. But you know what? I will rent it again. I will finish it. I just had 1 more hour to go to finish the movie, but that is asking a lot. If you check it out, let me know what you think. And as always, thank you for listening.